Hello, in today's demonstration, this is going to be a quick, fun warm-up prompt for mixed media. I'm using I think this is like a 9 by 12 sheet of Bristol paper. If you don't have that, regular paper is fine. However, I'm going to use some paint on here, so a thicker cardstock would be recommended. But this is a warm-up, so you can be relaxed. It doesn't have to be anything fussy. It could be a brown paper bag, which is usually my favorite. Okay, so on the back of this cardstock, I've already pre-drawn, I've divided it up into 6 squares. You can do more if you want, and they don't have to be whatever, perfectly straight. Okay, so I would do this ahead of time. We will be cutting the page apart. So if you want some smaller pieces, you can grid it with smaller squares. Okay, now I'm going to start using a China marker, which is basically a crayon, to make some random lines on here. You can do this with paint. I'm choosing not to because I want to cut this apart and I don't want the paint, goobing all over the place. However, I am going to bring in paint. So I'm going to start somewhere on one side of my Bristol paper, and I'm just going to do kind of a meandering line. I don't really have anything in mind. I would say kind of bigger, loopier shapes are fine. You could do some geometric if you want. I just want to make sure that I have enough coverage on the whole page. So that's covered. And of course, the phone rings while I'm recording. It's always the way. Okay, we're ignoring that. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to cut along these lines. This is kind of exciting because I don't know what I'm going to get when I turn it over. A little bit of randomness here. Okay, now I'm going to turn these over. And some are going to be more interesting and exciting than others. Okay, so like off the bat, I'm like, I love that one. I love that one. I don't love this one as much. Kind of like that one. Okay, now I've got choices. I could choose to treat some of these as like, I'm just going to do a separate mini composition. Or I can start like with these less interesting ones. I can start rotating them kind of puzzle piece like and connecting some of these lines in a way that's interesting. And things don't even have to line up in a grid fashion, but I find connecting the lines, forming different connections. I can overlap. This could take a while. Clearly, I'm getting into it here. At a certain point, I might just have to make a quick decision. So that's what I'm going to do. Since I'm on record, I'm going to make some quick decisions. Can't remember how I had that. Okay, there we go. There's one. And not all the lines have to connect. This somehow makes sense to me right here. My mind sort of fills in the blank of that movement I'm getting with that line. We're just playing with this. Again, I don't have to use all the card. What did I have? Now I can't remember. I think that was it. Okay. That seems to kind of work for me right there. Okay, and I'm going to leave one off because I think it might be nice to have a mini composition. Now, I'm going to work on this whole thing, and then I can glue it on another surface if I want. Or again, this is just a warm up. This is for me to kind of see your approach. Then you're going to get some collage material. I chose black and white, and somebody needs to mute themselves, please. Okay. Again, just playing. Hopefully you can sort of remember maybe what it was like in school when you had, I'm thinking elementary school, when you had some sort of project like this and you just were playing. I love it. It says trussing poultry and game. Okay, so this was from, I love old cookbooks. Okay. So I can tear, I can cut, and I find with the collage material, it helps to kind of maybe pick a stack or a stash of, I'm going to go with all, all black and white or a certain texture. Um, just limit things a little. Okay, we'll go with Lucky 13 right there. All right, so I would keep adding more of this collage material. Or you can do the collage material later if you want. Okay. Then at a certain point, you'll pick, I would say 2 to 3 colors. I wouldn't go more than that. And then you'll introduce paint. I'm going to use that as my palette. I thought I was going to make a mini, but I can just tell, I know how I am. I'm going to get carried away, and then 20 minutes later, so I'm just trying to introduce the prompt. Okay, so now I can play with adding color. And I have choices here. I can fill shapes in solidly. I can, overlap as a way to integrate collage material into the composition. This is my angled palette knife. I'll go into this more, but I can apply paint with that. There's so many things I can play with. Thin paint by adding more water. Thick paint with no water. All these variables, right? Okay, and this can just go on and on for a while. I think you get the basic idea. So you're going to start with that random line, cut it apart, rearrange, make either one whole composition or a series of mini compositions with collage material, and I would say a limited palette. I've got two colors here. I would probably, if I were to continue this, bring in another color, like maybe a warm color, but I wanted just to give you the general idea of this process. And I kept mine abstract, but you could put in recognizable imagery. It's pretty open. Okay, and that is it.